Thanks, Marshall. All right, everyone. This is the Wednesday CalPADS Q&A, and my name is Alex Bondi. I am a data analyst at CSIS supporting CalPADS. Now on to announcements. There was a flash 323, that was sent out last Friday. And this talks about the EDCS collections, and it gives you a brief description of the three at the bottom of the flash. And it talks about the collection windows for the 25-26 academic year. And it also provides information on how to access EDCS. So if you are the one doing the EDCS uploads, this is a flash that you want to make sure that you're looking into. Next is end of year training. So there was an email that was sent out yesterday. Yes, yesterday, April 7th. And it lists all the different types of end of year trainings that are available, and you are able to register for them now via our CSIS website. So if you are unfamiliar on what the new process is or where to go to register, please let us know. It is also at the bottom of that email. But if you didn't get it for whatever reason, we can show you on this call. And then lastly is just the end of year submission window. You can so the submission window for end of year opens on May 5th, but that doesn't mean that you have to wait until then. You can be proactive, and we recommend that you are whenever possible, because the DDs are actually running now. So you can be looking at and resolving any of the DDs for end of year, and then by the time that the submission window gets here, you're dealing with less stuff to clean up. And as a reminder, we have just two end of year submissions, end of year one, which we have an amendment window for, and end of year two, which does not have an amendment window. So Gary's showing you up on the screen the different dates. If you're unfamiliar with those dates, I suggest you take a screenshot or come to the user manual to see that. And also, just an FYI, the user manual already has the why am I blanking on the name? The suggested milestones. So if you wanted to already start the ball rolling on that, and mark your calendars to figure out, work backwards, that is available for you as well. And Gary's showing you how to get there from the CalPADS page. And right there in the middle, you'll see that there's the end of year roadmap. So if you click on there, you'll see the all sorts of great stuff on there, but the suggested milestones are right there in the middle. So next announcement is that neither Angela nor Matt are here today. So parents aren't home. We get to kind of do whatever we want. Just kidding.
No.
That sounds good.
But we do have the SPEd office here. So Dominic or Milo, any announcements today?
Sorry, I was laughing at the chat.
Oh,
Next week begins the SPEd Data Roadshows. The first week is mainly in the Central Valley, following in SoCal the week after. I don't think the registration information is on the website yet, but I will post in the chat a link to our office hours slides, and the slide deck has all of the registration information and the complete schedule. So if anybody would like to join us out there, please do so. That's all I had.
awesome. Okay. All right, so then we'll start off. I don't think we have anybody else from CD. So we're going to start off with our questions. Question 1 from Stella, Novato Unified, says, does the user request extract from the new CalPADS accounts list exclude users who have never signed in with their legacy accounts? When I run the extract, several site administrators are missing. However, these users do appear on the user management user roles page in the selected users list on the right. If a user has never signed in with their old account, is it advised to just set them up with a new account? So I don't know that I can answer the first one about CalPADS accounts list excluding users who have never signed in. Um, just because I personally haven't had that much um, time running that report, so I don't know. But on the last bit about whether or not we recommend that to sign up, create a new user account for users that never have logged in. Um, I think so. I mean, it's totally up to you. There's two options, right? You can go ahead and create the account. You can ask them to log in to their using their old account and then just have them convert it. Um, Ultimately, though, by May 1st, if that user never signed into CalPADS, um, that by the time that May 1st comes around, they'll have to create a new account. Like you'll have to create it as the LEA admin. So either you create it now or you wait till May 1st. I think the only benefit I see to doing it now is if you wanted them to do it on their own behalf, right? Because they can still technically go in and convert it themselves.
I had pull up an extract from test Alex from when we did the UAT,
Hmm.
and it will include every account. So if they've never logged in, there's a last login column, and if it's
Hmm.
blank, that doesn't exclude. There's several in this spreadsheet that I'm looking at are blank. It also will have revoked accounts, active accounts, and new accounts. New accounts are typically those that have never logged in, so that it's always been new. So I can confirm that people who have never logged in, that will show up. Um, and I think I just want to reiterate what you said about the second question. I would definitely recommend them log in with the new account. The whole purpose of the new login is to increase the security. And so, yeah, you can do as Alex suggested. If you want them to create an account, have them log in. But if they've never logged in before, it's just as easy to create them a new account. The only thing that would preclude that is if they already established a account with that email, that's in CalPad. So they would have to complete those steps of logging it, doing it themselves, and then converting it themselves.
Thanks, Nate.
Yeah, I was planning on chilling today.
Hmm. Let's see. Okay, and then Rebecca. Okay, and it's just helpful tips. Awesome. Okay, moving on to Shelley's question one. Says, I received emails that problem 7371 is now resolved, but it is not resolved. I just downloaded a new user extract and 27 of my 42 users with calpads.org as the login providers still have no username in it. Boy. Okay.
Yeah, it does show as a fixed issue as of yesterday, Shelley, but if you're still seeing a problem, if you would just submit another ticket and we may have to get them to reopen. And if you could include some of the user account names that
Mhm.
you're missing.
Yeah. Thank you. Moving on to Stephanie. Question one. For the work-based learning for transition students, do we have to only report students with IEPs that complete the alternative pathway diploma? Or is this just for the CCI measure on the dashboard and we still report any student with an IEP who is eligible to participate in the program? The latter, Stephanie. I believe that CalPADS is just looking for an IEP plan. So we're not restricting it. So if you give us, a student that it was on an IEP and had a regular high school diploma at the end, they won't count for the CCI, but we CalPAD still accept it. It's just like you mentioned, it's a CCI measure that's specifically looking at just honing in on those students that have the alternative diploma. Moving on to Charlene's question one. For TK students who exit before the end of the school year, we'd use the E400 exit code. Can we use the same E400 for kinder students? We have a special ed kinder student who stopped coming to school after January and is not enrolled anywhere in California. What if the student has reached 6 years old? So that last bit, Charlene, is the key. So E400 is only acceptable for students that are not within the compulsory ed age. So students that are 6 years or older cannot have that E400. So if the student is in kinder and 5 years old, then yes, that E400 is valid. But once they reach 6 years old, that exit code can't be used. Next is Luis, question 1. Preschool student needs enrollment date change from February 27th through to February 12th per our SPEd department. I changed it in our SIS. What would be best practice to get the first enrollment date updated in CALPADS? The enrollment start date is currently blocked from being changed in the first enrollment record in CALPADS. Yeah, so unfortunately, CALPADS isn't super easy to it doesn't make it easy for you to just change a date, an enrollment start date. If the enrollment is the only enrollment record for that student, then what you're going to have to do is no-show that enrollment of the February 27th and then create a new enrollment with the correct start date, the February 12th. Once that February 12th is posted, then you can delete that no-showed record so that only the February 12th enrollment remains. Okay, we're going to move on to Tammy's question 1. Dominic, when will end of year 4 data discrepancies be available in CalPads? It's a trick question, Dominic.
Yeah, and Chris beat me to the answer.
Yeah. So, Tammy, there's no more end of year 4 because we consolidate it to just end of year 1 and end of year 2. So all of the special education specific collection submissions are going to be in end of year 1, as Gary has highlighted on the screen there. So when you're looking at the data discrepancy screen, select end of year 1, and you'll see special education validations there. Next, we have Terry, question 1. Guidance from CCGI is recommending using a CDS code of all 8s for any college level coursework. Will this impact any portion of data submitted to CalPads? This is the first I've ever heard of that
I've never heard
CDS
of that.
code.
8s, yeah.
Yeah. As far as I know, Terry, we haven't made any changes. And so if you were to give us that CDS code, we would likely, or CalPads would likely reject it. I don't know if that's, if the guidance is coming from CCGI, maybe we need this as a ticket so we can escalate it to CDE. I don't.
Or due process, or whatever that reason might be as to why you're not affirmed.
Is someone talking? Oh, okay. Oh, Shelly says, I don't think it will since we don't send the college in the record. Okay. And then Terry says, guidance is coming. I am asking from another counterpart. Okay. Yeah, as far as I know, reporting college courses is status quo from last year. Next, we have Heather from Shasta COE, question 1. Any time frame when the mapping guides, the CERT and real-time reports page will be updated to reflect the end-of-year changes. And FYI, the link on the EOY roadmap to the LEAP file goes to the SPRG page instead of the LEAP information. I know that we were done with creating or updating the mapping guides on our end internally. I think they're in the review process. And so I believe that that's just what the holdup is right now. I don't know, Gary, if you have any other.
Yeah, I think once it's reviewed, then Kyron puts it up on the site. But I'm not sure where it is in the review process, but it should be ready fairly soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Ethan, Question 1. Since a student can be a CTE completer before graduating from high school, what's an appropriate PSTS outcome to report for them during the following year's Fall 2 if they're still in K-12? Other. I don't think we'd allow it. I don't think for the PSTS, you can only submit it once the students actually exited. So I think that the validations are looking for students that exited in the prior academic year. If you were to give us a PSTS record for a currently enrolled student, it would error out on you. But I don't know, you guys,
Yep.
am I? Yeah.
No, you're
Okay.
right. That's what would happen.
Stephanie, we see your question 2. We'll circle back. Gladys, question 1. Are ADL identified students with overdue reevaluations? Upon further review, we determined that the prior LEAs did not report the meetings to CALPADS. We have since posted the missing meet records using the accurate historical dates. However, these records do not overlap with the student's enrollment at our LEA. Will this create any issues, or is this considered an appropriate resolution if the prior LEA does not update the records in CALPAD? I know the meet records don't have to overlap enrollment. That's one of the beauties, right? But I don't know, Dominic, you have anything else to say?
No, sorry. The process that Gladys, the process you described is exactly what we would recommend for making these corrections, and the meet records are detached from other records so that they can be posted outside of overlapping enrollments, so you can correct the record just like this. So there should be no issues.
And I also posted an FAQ regarding LEAs that can submit meet records
Oh, cool. Okay.
in the
Thank you, Mel.
chat. Mhm.
Thank you, Mila. Next up, we have Sama. Question 1. I've had some LEAs catch certification errors using their 16.14 DSCA real-time report. They are able to pinpoint issues that require IEP meetings to be held ahead of our staff leaving at the end of May. Are there other real-time reports that may assist in a similar purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. 16.21 is a real-time report that you can use to monitor your timelines to make sure that students aren't going to be overdue for annual plan reviews or reevaluations that could be addressed holding a meeting before the end of the year. 16.24 is a real-time report about meet records, and that can help you find pending meeting records that haven't had a subsequent meeting reported, or unnecessary meeting records that have been posted. You can barely hear me? Oh, yeah. Zoom always resets my mic. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it puts the mic input down to half like every time. Sorry about that. So 1624, the meeting student list, you can find pending records that may not have the subsequent meeting record posted, or are otherwise sort of, abandoned or aren't linking up. 1625, you can monitor your 60-day timelines, again, to see if you have any pending meeting records for Part B initials, to make sure that those are completed before the end of the year, if it falls within that timeline. And 16.26 is also similar, looking at the Part C to Part B transition, that third birthday timeline. Although in that report, you won't see any students on Part C that were served by regional centers. It would only be reporting students that were served on Part C at an LEA or a county office. But I'm glad to hear 1614 is working out so well for you. That's excellent news. I'm glad to hear that.
Sema says, it is my understanding that the meeting monitoring reports do not directly pertain to the certification for EOI. And then adds,
Well, sorry, Alex. I
that's
apologize.
okay. I was going to read the second part that she says the LEAs are looking at things like mismatches in program settings, LRE, or following up on behavior and transition things.
Yeah, and those would be what you've sort of found in 16.14. for program settings, gen ed percentage, and that sort of thing. I was suggesting the other reports because they are real time, and a lot of end of year certified data or data that is in CALPADS as of the end of the amendment window is going to be used in monitoring determinations next year. So it's important to be on top of all of those different data elements, those report elements that I spoke about.
Right. Thanks, Dominic. Ethan, I see your question too. We'll circle back. Next, we have Eldrick's question 1. Says, we are currently reviewing our 25-26 cohort and are seeking guidance. Would an email thread showing that our records request was received, along with an email confirming the records request form was sent, be sufficient to update the student's exit reason to out of state, T200? Thanks. I would think so.
I agree.
Yeah, because I believe that what the data guide says is that the required documentation is the records request, right? The CUME folder from the other state. And to me, the email thread would show that. So yeah. Okay. Next, we have Sharon's question 1. We have had several students pending expulsion who enrolled in another LEA before the expulsion hearing in our district. We understand that we should be exiting the student as of their last day of attending with our LEA with the T160, but this doesn't show their expulsion, which is approved after they have left our LEA. Our admin are concerned the expulsion isn't showing, but from a CALPADS perspective, is this okay because the expulsion is still being captured in the EOY submission for discipline? Correct. The expulsion would still be captured in the student instance result, right? And so even though the exit may still be, I don't know, before that sentence was served, I guess, if you can call it that, you would still show it in the student's discipline record. No problem. All right, now I think we're done with question 1. So we're going to circle over to Stephanie's question 2 at 313. And it states, regarding transition students, are we required to report any work-based learning to CALPADS?
I don't know that it's required. And I just personally don't know whether it's required or not, but I wouldn't see any reason to avoid that because, the more you can report positive outcomes for the dashboard, the better. But as far as any requirements, statutory or otherwise, I'm not unfortunately familiar.
CALPADS doesn't have any validation that says, hey, this is a transition student and you haven't given us anything. So we wouldn't flag you for it, I guess. Yeah. Next we have Ethan. Question 2. Can you remind me about the anticipated changes to end of year deadlines in future years? Are we eventually going to have everything due by July 1st?
I think we don't have anyone here from the CALPADS operations office to have a good answer for that. I know that it keeps getting shorter, but I don't know that it's going to be all the way to July 1st. At least I haven't heard.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that either.
But that would be a question for CDE's CALPADS office.
Mm-hmm. Right. Shelley's question 2 at 325 says, do you think we might get the rest of the EOY reports available as real-time reports by this time next year so we can review them for discrepancies ahead of time next year? And then adds, the certification reports don't work since we don't have a status yet. I don't know that we're planning to create a real-time report for every single certification report. I don't know that that's on the table. So I do know that there are some that are still being worked on, I believe, like the STAS. But yeah, it's not it's not going to be a one-to-one, unfortunately. So for some of the for some of the certification reports, you're going to have to wait until whenever the EOI submission window opens. Oh, we have a question 1 from Carla. It says, what is the proper exit code and completion status for early finishers who have met all academic requirements but are still pending local graduation requirements like service hours? We are looking to avoid misreporting them as graduates before they are officially cleared by the LEA. I don't think we have an exit code for that because technically they're not done, right? They're still pending some of your local requirements. So
Yeah, I don't understand, but why would you exit them if they're going to be graduates? And why not waiting until they graduate?
Mhm. Well, they're done with classes.
Classes. I guess I don't understand enough about how it works on that end if they're done with their classes, but they're not graduated yet.
Yeah, because for some LEAs, there's a certain number of community hours, I think, service hours that they have to do. But again, I mean, they're not graduates, right? So based on your local requirements, I don't know if there's anybody else on the call that has any suggestions. But as far as CALPADS, we don't have a code that's specific for that, for your scenario that you're describing. Yeah.
I think when you just graduate them, even though they're done with classes now, when they finally finish their
The service hours.
service and then put that date and that graduate
Yeah.
100, right?
Because that's when they technically have met your local requirements of graduation. Oh, and then Rebecca says, yes, the LEA has to reflect on their board policy. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Next we have Rochelle, question 1. Yesterday, we had 546 fatals for SPRG 746E1 in the data discrepancies, and today they are gone. Should we be watching for them to come back, or was there a glitch? And then Chris says, if you closed your homeless records yesterday, that would explain it.
Yeah, yeah, they didn't touch anything.
Yeah.
I don't know that because we had a ticket on that yesterday because they were getting the error. And they hadn't exited the students from the homeless program yet, but I said, well, it's kind of early because school hasn't ended yet. You don't know unless you actually know that they've exited homeless, because now the new requirement is you're going to have to exit homeless students at the end of every year. But then I looked it up in the developers section, the error, and it hadn't been finished yet. It was still an active thing. So it may have been turned on early and wasn't supposed to be, and they turned it off, and that's why they all went away. But
I wonder,
yeah.
Can you look it up, Gary, in the user manual?
It's not there yet.
Oh, it's not there.
No, unless Kyron just put it in yesterday, because it wasn't there early in the morning yesterday when I looked it up. But basically it says the students in the 25-26 academic year, if they're not that have entered a homeless program after July 1st, 2025, must exit that program at the end of the year. And these were active students that were still active, and they hadn't exited their homeless program, but you wouldn't expect them to if they're still homeless and the end of the year hasn't come yet. But again, I think that may have been turned on and enabled, and maybe I think they disable it again because, like I said, it was still being an active thing in the developers queue.
Odd.
But
okay.
that would be a good one for Angela if she was here.
Yeah. I guess if it shows up again, Rochelle, just send in a ticket, and then we can figure out why it's, coming on and off. Okay. Oh, and next we have Rochelle again, question 2. Does a blank parent education level send up as unknown. Should we have an option in our SIS for unknown?
If it's blank, I don't think it says anything. You can pick a decline to state, but if it's blank, I don't know what you mean send up.
Does a blank parent education level, do you mean, does it show up in the reports as unknown or? Yeah, I guess if you can clarify what you mean by send up as unknown. Oh, okay. I'll find an example and put in a case. We see some that
Huh.
say unknown in CALPADS.
Huh.
Okay. Yeah. Next we have Diana's from question 1 from Colton Joint. It says, good afternoon. I was trying to upload the LEAP file for the expanded learning data, but when I try to upload the file in CALPADS, the file type for LEAP is not there. Do you know when it will be available? I believe that the ETA on that file is May 5th when the EOY submission window opens. So I'm gonna have to wait on that one for at least one more month. All right. I'm gonna hang tight for a little bit, just in case people are typing. Or maybe everyone's still on spring break vacation mode. Or maybe this is where we show Marshall's.
Oh, that's right.
Hey, Marshall has
What
video.
y'all wanna slip out to a concert? Well, we got somebody's put his kind in there
Oh,
real quick. Go ahead.
okay. Rochelle's question 3 says one more, sorry, for Sunbucks uploads. If we uploaded a student before September 2nd and they were eligible for 2026, do we need to upload them again? Honest, I don't feel confident in
Yeah.
answering Sunbucks questions. Oh, Rebecca says yes.
That's cool.
And then provides a flash. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Yeah, Rebecca's always on the one, you know that.
We are very appreciative.
Right.
Oh, and Shelley says, I thought we did not. Sunbucks is a foreign entity to me. I know where our documentation about it is, but I don't feel confident to speak on it. And then Rebecca replies and says the EDCS for 2026 is a new submission. And Natasha confirms, yes, we do. New data collection for 2026 for summer EBT. Love the collaboration. I appreciate people jumping in.
Great teamwork, CalPads admins. Somebody else still coming in. Okay, as Alex said, the parents are away, so you guys want to sneak out to a quick concert, we can do that right quick. No, we got another question. Go for it.
Let's see. Terry, question 2. Cradle to career. Will there be some point in time there will be one vessel to gather all the state data rather than having separate systems to upload the data for all the groups? I mean, you never know.
We didn't used to have special education data, and now we have that. And I think we've added, I don't know, 2 or 3 since I've been doing CalPads.
So I think, yeah, in some future, maybe once my daughter works here.
And maybe at that
Um,
time, they'll also do all the civil rights data in the
Yeah.
CalPADs too.
right. Yeah. We'll put her in charge of that.
And
All right, folks. We're gonna end it there. We'll see you next week, same time, same link. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks.